What's going on, YouTube? And I'm speaking to my Chicago people or anybody who wants to move to Chicago. And I want to take you all through these new properties being built. They're condos along 850 Lakeshore Drive. You see it on the screen now. And these are new condo residences. And we're going to go through how they look, the location, and what they're starting at. And is it basically becoming too expensive to live in Chicago? Is uh, my question for this video based on the prices that these condos are starting at, depending on where you want to live in the city. And I'll also go over the yearly property taxes that the city of Chicago has. Is it getting to a point where people are getting priced out, possibly, and that it's just, you're going to have to go to a entirely different state. I know a lot of people who have left Chicago and went to Houston, Texas, just to have a comfortable living versus, the skyrocketing price of living, cost of living in the city of Chicago, Illinois. So is the city trying to price people out and attract a certain group in? Uh, you tell me. But yeah, now these are new, 850 Lakeshore Drive, that's the address. So, you're by the lakefront, beautiful view. That probably all goes into the cost. You're not too far from Navy Pier, which is, an attraction. It's a place you can go to hang out, get on the Ferris wheel, go to the IMAX theater, and they also have a hotel there. So it's a lot of different things. You see the people in their boats. It's close to downtown Chicago, so if you have to go into the office, that's there. So these are some of the selling points. I don't know as far as if you got children, the closest schools around there, but just for this condo life, condos aren't that big. They may be advertising more towards just one person or maybe two people who are in a relationship. But let's get into it. So you all see the view that you get with the price tag, which I'll get to. So I'm gonna scroll down some more. Again, the address is 850 Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, Illinois. And this is their website, 850lakeshoredrive.com, for anybody who's interested in buying a one bed, two bed, or three bedroom condominium in Chicago. This is the new properties that they're building up, and they're calling it lakefront living. And so this is how some of them look inside. We're going to get down to that. So nestled on Lakeshore Drive, this remarkable condo tower boasts stunning views of the city's skyline. Chicago's known for the skyline and the lake waters, modern design, spacious floor plans. So I know people are concerned about square footage. Each home offers a tranquil retreat with the best of Chicago living at its doorstep. So this is how it looks inside one of them from this image here. So you're looking out to the lake. You got a chandelier at the top. You see the furniture. This is how you could get yours set up. So this definitely costs some cash to live here. It's real nice looking, but who can actually afford it? There are people who can, but if you look at what the city is doing, are they forcing, will other people be forced out as these type of building projects, progress in the future, not just on 850 Lakeshore Drive, but in other areas of the city. This is just one location right now. And once we get to the price, you'll see what I'm talking about. Can you afford to live in Chicago, or will you be able to afford to live in Chicago? And if you're here now, uh, do you feel the impact of the costs? Are you already making plans to exit? Let me know. So let's keep going. That's a nice inside look. Here's some more inside looks of how your condo could look. One of the rooms, and then you still see the view outside on the lake and the boats out there from right here. So we scroll down some more. So it's got extended ceiling heights, Spacious 1 to 3 bedroom floor plans. The address, like I said, is 850 Lakeshore Drive. They've got modern comforts like stainless steel appliances, hardwood flooring, granite countertops, porcelain, tile, baths, and big walk-in closets. Yeah, and I'm sure they should for what the starting price is asking for, and then it just goes up from there. So now here's to the amenities, some of the things you get. These are the perks if you decide to purchase. So all right, there's the outside where you can come, hang out, suntan, sunbathe. Uh, Preserving its impeccable charm, 850 Lakeshore Drive has elegant collection of amenities, a grand lounge with 25-foot ceilings, direct lake views. They really use the lakefront as a selling point. Whether if you lived in Chicago for most of your life, the lake might not sell you as much as it would new people who, like I said, that may be who they're trying to attract. And that's the reason for the higher prices and what they're asking for, and just pricing people out. So what else do we have here? Rooftop sky deck. I think that's what this is up here. And it's definitely nice. So from the rooftop, you can see this is Navy Pier here. That's like the amusement center. So rooftop sky deck, grilling stations if you want to barbecue, and then like I said, you can view Navy Pier. Then it has a fitness center, an indoor pool and spa. So yeah, and again that's Navy Pier all along here. So you get a view of that, and then it's in walking distance if you want to go hang out there. The neighborhood. Now there's the skyline, the famous Chicago skyline, situated along the shore of Lake Michigan, east of Michigan Avenue. This iconic residence enjoys a central location nestled between Chicago's Gold Coast and Streeterville neighborhoods. I know the Gold Coast neighborhood, it's very expensive to live there, from what I've heard. I don't know too much about the Streeterville, but I've definitely always heard about Gold Coast. And as we get to the bottom here, 1 to 3 bedroom residences, and they start from the 400,000. I don't know if that's just 400,000 or it starts at 420,000. I guess it depends. So if I click inquire, does it give us some more definitive prices? Nope. No, they'll probably negotiate, and you contact them and put in all of this information, and then you can request info. But okay, no, they don't give you specific price points. But yeah, they're starting from the 400,000s. So who can actually afford that is a thing, and if they know a lot of people in the city can't, who is the city trying to attract with this real estate development here, starting from the 400,000 for a condo. And this isn't even single family home, it's a condo. So you can imagine in certain areas in Chicago, if you want your own house, where that starts at. And so do you think the cost of living in Chicago is becoming unaffordable with people having exited the city, not only just due to crime, but the increase in property taxes, which I'll get into next, and then just the cost of living going up. Like I said, people left Chicago and went to Houston, Texas. They went to Atlanta, Georgia. If they haven't left Illinois, they've left Chicago and went to other suburbs that may be cheaper to live in. But is this what the city wants, to get certain people who can afford this back into these spaces? And then it's right next to downtown Chicago. It's, convenient if you have to commute to the office. And if you're working from home, then, you have it even better, and you got that view outside your condo while you're working from home. And so I want to get into the city's property taxes. So you see this here, the average property tax rates. So it's around 2.02%. That's higher than the national median, which is the national average for the United States, but is lower than the state of Illinois' average property tax rate. So it's still pretty high to be that much higher than the national median in Chicago. So to give you more of a well-rounded view, now they said if your property is 300,000, these condos are starting in the 400,000s. Your taxes could be $6,060 annually. So you can already increase that if you get one of these condos on 850 Lakeshore Drive that's starting in the 400,000s. And so Chicago pays their property taxes, the entire state of Illinois does twice a year. I want to get down to that. The first is in March, and then the next one is in the late summer. I believe it's either August. I think it's due in September. It's either August or September. And so you pay it in two installments. But you know, property taxes can make or break your purchasing uh, situation. You know, I know there's one city in Illinois, Orland Park, Illinois, where their property taxes I've heard are 10,000 a year, and I think Naperville, Illinois, is higher than that. I think that goes into the Illinois state median, where the property taxes are higher in the suburbs, but Chicago itself is high. You know, we're talking $6,060 annually for a $300,000 place. These condos are starting out at 100,000 more than that. So you could expect to probably pay close to 8,000 for the cheapest condo if you get the one bedroom. So if you get the three-bedroom condo on 850 Lakeshore Drive, you could probably easily get to over 10,000 a year in annual property taxes living in Chicago. And so can we really afford to live in this city? Nice views, looks good, but starting out from the 400,000s, they're looking to attract a certain type of customer, and it may not be current people who actually live in the city of Chicago. And this is just this location, 850 Lakeshore Drive, and these are just condos. Uh, who knows what they have in store for the rest of the city in terms of just building it up. And building it up often means increasing uh, the price of locations to live, which forces people out. And then they get in people who can actually afford it. And so is that the whole plan? You know, some people think that's the situation. I saw a video on YouTube about New York City and gentrification and $4,000 for rent. You know, this isn't rent here, this is a mortgage, but either way, and you might be paying that much on your mortgage as they're paying for rent in New York City. You know, paying that much for your mortgage here in Chicago. But is cost of living just getting even higher as time goes on? Some would say yes. I mean, this picture here definitely looks luxurious, but then you have to be realistic with yourself in terms of you can actually afford that. And you know what we have going on today with inflation, tariffs on and off again, pause, stop, whatever the case may be. Certain stores going up on their prices. Walmart is going up in late May of this year, they said, on their consumer goods due to some of the places where they import their products from. Costa Rica was one of the places. So even though tariffs are paused, you know, Walmart has its own, I guess, issues in terms of what they pay to import. And they said they're going up on their prices late May 2025. So you have to take all of that into consideration. And obviously, people who can afford to live at 850 Lakeshore Drive, that may not affect them in terms of Walmart going up on prices, among other things. And then a lot of people feel that with the prices going up for things, and just looking at the current United States government, that what they're doing is only going to favor the wealthy people who can afford things like on 850 Lakeshore Drive. Is going to hurt people in lower tax brackets. And so you still have this thing of people being priced out and not having a place to live, or the places that you can afford to live. People complain now that I'm around people who may not have the same mentality in terms of wanting to take care of where they live, and that makes them uncomfortable now that you all are grouped into this same living space, because this is all any of you can afford. And so I think what scares more people about a lower costing of things in terms of where they live is not so much the lower cost. People like a lower cost. It's just that there's always this thing about the mentality of certain people who are there where it's lower cost of living. If the mentality, or if you can just get around a group of people, and even though we're all in, a cheaper living space, but our mentality is to keep the property up and not be on any foolishness, then people wouldn't have a problem. But we seem to hear stories of people who, when they find something for cheaper to live, even in the city of Chicago, you get around people who just don't care about the neighborhood. And that's why you have people sitting here trying to get to, higher price places, because they feel it keeps certain people out. But when we get to places where condos starting at 400,000, you don't have enough to escape that particular group of people that you don't want to live around. And so you forced to live around them unless, you exit the city of Chicago or exit the state of Illinois altogether. And is this what the city of Chicago's plan is, in alignment with other major cities in the United States, to price people out just so they can get a certain group of people in? You know, your guess is as good as mine in terms of gentrification and just what happens when new properties are built and how much they actually cost. So I don't know what you guys think. Uh, can you afford to live in Chicago at this point? If you still live here already, or if you're thinking about moving here, do you still think you can afford it? I mean, obviously there are people who are, but what do you guys think the overall city of Chicago's plan is when you see a place like this, and like I say, starting at the 400,000s, and basically what you get to see in terms of the view and what you get as amenities to make you feel like paying at least 400,000 or more for one of these condos is worth it. And that's just this location. Uh, there's other things I'm sure Chicago has in the works for people who want to live there, and the prices will not be cheap. The cost of living is going up in Miami, Florida. Just if you just pay attention to the construction that's being built, and a lot of this stuff gets done quietly, while people are, sometimes distracted by other news, whether it be Diddy or Tory Lanez, Shannon Sharp, whatever the case may be, the NBA playoffs, if you allow yourself to be distracted. And so you see these taxes going up, cost of living going up, you see new places being built and what they started, and you hear about them and they look nice, but you don't see how these things being built and they're more expensive are going to cause other things in the city you live in to go up, to where now you're not able to afford it over the next 5 to 10 years. Because when they go to pricing people out, it doesn't happen within that year. It takes time to where people are looking at their monthly bills and they just have to now relocate. slowly but surely. So let me know what you guys think in the comments about these new condos in Chicago. Can you afford them? Can you afford to live in the city of Chicago? Where can you afford to live? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Facts of Feelings, all one word, no spaces. Put that in the YouTube search, Facts of Feelings, no spaces, and my channel comes right up. Again, like, share, and subscribe. And send any topics you want me to discuss and any videos you want me to review to my YouTube email. It is Kriegear, period, just the dot, kriegear.mj@gmail.com. That will be in the description of this video. That's CREGIER.mj@gmail.com. So thanks until the next one, and let me know what you guys can afford. I'm out.